Guys, welcome back to Scotty Builds. This is sauna part 3. In this part, I'll be installing the wood burning stove, the cedar tongue and groove siding, and the cedar benches. Got the stove here. It weighs 500 pounds, so it's going to be interesting trying to get this in the sauna. Shout out to Kuma Stoves. This stove was recommended by Glenn from SauntaTimes, and the thing's built like a tank. Stove being the heart of the sauna, you definitely want to go overkill on that. Now we got to get it from there to there. With the stove in place, I used a string with a weight on the end to find where the center of the stove pipe lines up with the ceiling, shown by that little screw right there. Then I crawled up into the attic and framed out an opening so that the metal pipe has proper clearance and won't set the framing on fire. Ow. Then I had to put up a bit of the tongue and groove cedar siding, only the section that has the pipe passing through it. And the pipe goes straight up all the way through the metal roof as well. This metal thing is a heat insulator for the pipe to make sure it doesn't catch the attic insulation on fire. On the inside of the sauna I used a single wall stove pipe, but once it passed into the attic and outside I used a double wall insulated pipe, which gives more heat protection. Getting the pipe installed means I can finally fire up the sauna, which is why you see me still working late into the night. I didn't quite get it finished though, so I had to come back the next morning to wrap it up. Almost in. What the f? Coming up the ladder, I sliced my kneecap on the corrugated metal roofing. That stuff is razor sharp. Anyways, the work had to continue, so I installed a rubber boot around the pipe to keep the rain from trickling down into the sauna and onto the stove. I installed a fancy chimney cap, and then all I had to do was let that silicone dry. Now back to cutting the cedar tongue and groove siding, and I taped up a bunch of pieces and cut them all at once, which saved a bunch of time. I wasn't worried about the edges being rough or out of square because they'll be covered up by trim molding later on. With the ceiling finished and the silicone dry on that rubber boot, I could finally light the first fire in the sauna. Honestly, one of the happiest moments of my life. With the fire going, I was able to work in my bathing suit, and from here it was on to the other cedar walls, same process as the ceiling. Next I upgraded this makeshift vent into a real window, partly for the view, but mostly for airflow. The flow of cold air into the sauna and the raising of the hot air helps push out stale, humid air through the opening, keeping the sauna fresh. You'll see I use cedar wood everywhere in this room, for the walls, the ceiling, the benches, and even the trim. And cedar is the ideal wood for saunas because it resists rot and mildew, it holds up to high heat without warping, it doesn't get too hot to sit on, it smells amazing, it keeps the bugs away, and it just looks amazing. and that's why every piece in here is cedar. With the walls finished, it was time to build the cedar benches. I made simple box frames out of 2x6s, connecting to the studs where possible, then used 2x4s across as supports and as the top pieces. For the upper benches, I used triangular supports, kind of like what you see on some types of shelves, and they direct the weight straight into the wall studs, letting the bench overhang and creating space underneath for the lower level. I used a pocket hole jig for the 2x4 cross pieces, and the key was keeping every screw hidden, both from sight and touch. This gave the sauna a clean, luxury look, but more importantly, it keeps anyone from touching the hot metal. Sitting on a 200-degree metal screw would not be fun. That meant I had to screw the top boards in from underneath, which was easily one of the most tedious parts of the whole build. Crawling underneath there and working upside down was a real pain, but definitely worth it. I use the same rough sawed cedar that I used for the triangular supports on the stove stone trim. I think the dark color really adds a lot of character to the sauna. One day after a pond hockey game, we had about 10 people sitting in this sauna. It had to be a couple thousand pounds, and the benches didn't even budge. The lower benches were supported by hidden pieces of wood that sat directly on top of the concrete floor. Then I built a cedar duckboard. Pretty much just put some 2x4s on the ground and then some cedar boards on top of those. And this keeps your feet off of the cold concrete. Ever since I finished this sauna room, I've been using it every chance I get. It's honestly one of my favorite things to do. And I hope you enjoyed following along in this episode. Stay tuned for episode 4 where I build the changing room and the deck. And thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe.